Hi, Karen. Thanks for joining us at the Book Dragon today. We're going to chat some more about your book, Another Day in Paradise, which is for our book tour that's happening this week. So I'm going to ask you a few questions about yourself and the book and let our viewers get to know you better.
Okay.
So your story in Another Day in Paradise, it centers around you moving to Portugal, starting a new life, and that's a dream that a lot of people have. So what actually gave you the courage to go ahead and do it?
I don't know really. It seemed like the obvious thing to do at the time. I look back now and think we were mad. Why did we do it? How did we do it? But we knew the place really well. We'd been coming on holiday for about 15 years at that point. And when I say coming on holiday, it started off as just a holiday. But over the years, it became three, four, 5 times a year. And we'd come out maybe just for a long weekend. We had a business we were running at that time, and we were quite restricted on holidays. Nick wasn't happy to go and leave the factory unattended, sort of thing. Um, so we'd come out sort of Thursday to Tuesday, and maybe around Christmas when we used to shut the factory. So we knew the place really well. It was a case of just one holiday and then we moved. Um, then in 2000, we always thought we would retire here. But in 2003, someone came along and wanted to buy the business. And we were quite happy. Nick was quite happy to get out of us at that point. And we thought, we don't know what we're going to do now. We don't really want to set up another business. And I just sort of thought we could go to Portugal. And Nick went, okay. And we did. We put the house on the market and started getting ready. And that was in I think the May, and we left in October. And we just put the two dogs in the car, drove down, lost, and at that time, it was so easy. We could just literally get in the car through Spain and France and arrive here.
Mhm.
We had a 6 month rental booked, but we had no jobs or no idea of what was.
Yeah. So that was very brave and it happened relatively quickly for such a big decision.
It did. It did. We had bought an apartment, quality rent, um, in about 2000. So we had things set up, like we had a bank account, and we were never going to live in the apartment. It wasn't suitable for dogs
Mhm.
upstairs and in a lift and stuff. But I think we felt a little bit more confident than we should have done, in that we thought we've done much, we've bought property down here. Um, and we knew, quite a lot of people.
Mhm.
And we just kind of, I was about 38 or something, it was 42. So we weren't anywhere near retirement.
Yeah.
Um, but it just seemed like
And when you did move over there, what was it that you missed about the UK?
um, I used to always say two things: an airing cupboard and
Okay.
coming here on holiday,
Oh, of course.
which sounds odd, but when you live here, you don't do the things that you do when you're on holiday.
Mhm.
And it's the same anywhere. Anywhere you live, it's paying the bills, it's the same routine day to day. It's not the excitement of coming on holiday and going to a rental villa. Oh, what'll it be like? And oh, we'll go to that restaurant that we once like, because we can do that anytime now. So I do actually miss holidays here.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I've never really thought of it that way, but it makes sense. I suppose if you make your holiday your everyday life, then it's a very different place.
Yeah, we don't do the same things. Yes, we still do something, but it, we still set the alarm.
Mhm.
Whereas on holiday, everything's more relaxed. And the fact that we are still working, certainly Nick's still working. I'm not working sort of out of the house anymore. But there are days that he still has to set the alarm, and it is like living anywhere, certainly, except we've got the weather, scenery, we've got the Portuguese lifestyle. But you still have to get up every day. We still have to feed the cats and walk the dogs and
Mhm.
things that you don't do if you're on holiday. And so it is quite different. And especially now we've been here, next year it'll be 20 years since we moved.
Mhm. Yeah. So have you ever regretted moving to
Ever
Portugal?
regretted moving?
No,
Okay, simple as that.
there are days, nowhere is, and um, what everyone says about bureaucracy here is absolutely right. You can't overstress how complicated it can be.
Mhm.
Um, Getting everything organised. They seem to do a thing here where if a law is going to change in the UK, you get notice about it. You get sort of 6 months or a year, and then TV and the paper. Don't forget this is happening.
Mhm.
Here, the law can change, and you don't know about it until weeks later,
Oh wow.
and somebody will say, "Oh, such and such." Really? That's not what you do anymore. No, 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 no. Change. So there was this feeling, I feel, certainly, a little bit of instability
Mhm.
in that you can never be 100% sure that you're legal and doing the right
Right.
thing. And if you're three different people, like an accountant, a lawyer, official at the town hall, the same question, you'll get three different answers. So it's really difficult to negotiate
Yeah.
and work out how you should be doing things. So that part of it is very, very frustrating. But it's not all the time. It's not every day. It's not even maybe every year. So it you get used to it, and
Mhm.
you give the Portuguese try. You know. But apart from that, no, I've never had any doubt.
Well, that's good to hear. So you reading the books, I was struck by how well you and Nick, your husband, integrated yourself into the local community. I was just wondering if you had any tips regarding that for anyone else who's deciding to move somewhere new.
I think it's very easy to get into this with expat lifestyle,
Mhm.
and that wasn't what we wanted to do. If we wanted to socialise in English bars with English people and eat English food, we would have stayed in England. So from the beginning, we've always um, not really gone out of our way. It has just been our choice to go into the more Portuguese places. Uh, where we live, we are surrounded by all sorts of nationalities. Portuguese neighbours, Dutch, and a couple of English, but a lot of Portuguese, and actually a lot. We didn't realise when we moved to this. A lot of our neighbours are actually Portuguese business owners, so we actually knew them from restaurants and cafes and shops in the village anyway. Um, but really, it's to go out of your comfort zone, to go into Portuguese or Spanish or French, wherever you are, um, and get to know those people around you. Try and live a little bit in uh, that sort of style that they do, and don't just just try and integrate, try and uh, not try and change Portugal to the way you would like it to be.
Yeah.
You have to accept Portugal for what it is. And if that's not what you want to do, then maybe it's not the best place for you to be.
Hmm.
So you have to be quite humble, I think, when you come here and not think we have all the answers. And you come here for a reason, and it's because we like the way life is here. And it's different in lots of ways, lots of quite surprising ways sometimes. But we're in that group now. We just go along with things and queue if it's necessary, and just like I said, Portuguese shrug.
Yeah. That's a good attitude. So obviously animals play a really important part in the book. And I was just wondering, have you always loved animals? And what was the first pet that you had?
Yes, always. My Nick and I was always dogs. And my parents had dog children, so I've never been without a dog. And dogs were very much part of our lives growing up. And mostly rescued. So we bought our when I met Nick, he had so that was a bonus. And some of our first dates were taking our family dog and his dog out on walks together, and
Oh.
you know, so it was sort of a low key start of a relationship, you know. But when we came here, it's a little better now. When we came here, there was quite an issue of stray cats, stray dogs. One little cat started coming round to our rental house, and I was terrified that our dogs were going to chase her or attack her or something. So I made sure we started feeding her, but we made sure she was always kept separate, and the dogs couldn't get to where we let her feed. And then she started sleeping there on this balcony. And then one day, the back door was open, and she took upon herself to walk round the house and into the back door, into the kitchen, into the living room, marched straight past our two dogs, who absolutely hated her and would, look for them whenever we went out on a walk. She was tiny. She was fully grown, but she was a small cat. Straight past them, jumped up on the sofa, started washing themselves, and the two of them just looked and looked at us, and they'd never seen a cat close and not one that didn't. And so she stayed, and we had her. We only lost her, I think, last year at around 18.
Oh wow.
Um, and she was the one that started us off on the rescuing cats and kittens. And since then, I've taken on abandoned pups and kittens, and I've bottle fed I don't know how many over the years. Um, some have gone on to be rehomed in the UK and in Germany and Holland, some here in Portugal. We can't save them all. I've lost quite a few as well when they're found abandoned and need bottling. Very, very. And every time I do it, um, um, but I still do it. I have to give them a chance.
Oh. So you talk a lot about your health issues in the book. Are you willing to share more about how they affect your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I had this surgery in 2009 on my
Hmm.
spine. I'd been diagnosed with scoliosis, curvature at the time when I was about 10 or 11, but the fixed the UK point didn't want to do anything about it. And they didn't say don't do that. So I just lived my life normally until one morning I had been sitting at the computer for a while, went to get up and couldn't walk. And took about 6 months with various appointments and seeing physio and MRI scans. And my physio actually diagnosed me and said, really, I need to see a neurosurgeon. And she came along to the appointment with us. And he looked at my MRI and said, wow, this needs surgery. And a couple of months later, I was up in Lisbon, the only English person in the hospital and the only English speaking person of my phone. So all the nurses, all the cleaners, all the auxiliaries, I had to quickly learn hospital Portuguese. And so now my spine is fixed with rods, 10,000 euros worth of titanium. And it means I can't bend, I can't lift or stretch or anything. The whole part of my torso. And to be honest, I spend most of my time flat on.
Yeah.
I have an electric here in the living room, and I go from my bed in the bedroom to my bed here. I do as much as I can standing up, but as soon as I'm up, it's painful to sit, so I'm kind of fidgeting a bit. It's painful to walk. It's painful to stand. I can't stand. I sort of shuffle from foot to foot because it's painful. So my life has changed completely. And I've had to adapt. There's nothing I can do about it. It's never going to get any better. So I do what I can do. I can still. I can still rescue animals to a certain extent. I do a lot of crochet for charities.
Okay.
And I'm in the process of doing that at the moment because I do hand warmers for the homeless or for families in need or whatever. Especially this year, once the weather gets cold, people I think are going to notice it. We don't have quite the same issues with energy prices as in the UK. For some people, it's still going to be a hit. And there are, people on very low salaries here that really need help as well. So I do things like that. I do the things like that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found, I've written a couple of years after it, in a way, found it had been locked out and wondered if I had enough material to make a book, and wrote it on my phone with my thumbs because I can't sit at a computer for very long. And then the first book was published in August last year. I only found them just one. And I finished it at the 1 year point because we had 2 6-month rentals and then we bought the house we still live in now. And I thought, well, that's quite a nice way to finish. And then to my surprise, I got quite a lot of feedback asking, how was I now? What happened to us in the intervening years? Were we still in Portugal? How many animals did we have now? And I thought, I don't know if I've got enough material, but I'll maybe do something about the animals we've rescued.
Yeah.
And as I started, little bits of us kept creeping in, and I thought, let's just go and see if I've got enough. And in the end, the second book has a virtual identical word count to the first one, and it brings our story right up to date. There is a lot of animals in it, more than in the first one, I think. But it's got other stories in it as well about people that we've met and things that have happened to us in the last sort of 18 years. So I hope it's as enjoyable for people as some things to think.
Well, I certainly thought it was. I've enjoyed both books, and they're both obviously available at the Book Dragon. So try both of them, Another Day in Paradise and Our Little Piece of Paradise. Well, thank you for joining us today, Karen. It's been so lovely to speak to you.
Thank you for the time and the questions, because it is interesting for me to think, why did we, why are we still here? But we are, and we love.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you, Karen.